Hopper, an archaeology professor, is in a remote area with his dog and best friend Boss, when he finds a van with a family photo album, along with a small book with drawings and writings. Hopper wanders off to the opening of a cave where he sees a cowboy holding a lantern stuck in place. Hopper and Boss return back to his house where he finds his students Jackie and Taylor, who are best friends, waiting for him, because they're all supposed to go back to the cave and explore more about the missing hippies from the 70s that he's looking for. Hopper shuts them down and tells them that he'll be going alone. While he's telling them that their evaluations have been submitted, Jackie notices that her backpack and Hopper's are identical to each other. Hopper returns back to the remote area and sets up a rope into one opening in case things go south. He returns back to the original opening and sees that the cowboy he saw in the beginning is exactly where he left him. The further he walks into the cave, he notices that the air is a different medium and is moist. Several days later, Taylor shows up to Jackie's house because they're on their way to the remote area because Hopper hasn't returned. They need a car, so Jackie suggests Taylor calls Kara because she's always willing to help Taylor no matter what, even on a random Saturday. Taylor tells Kara to bring along her half-sister Vives, whom she's helping with her school project because he thinks the adventure they're going on will definitely give Vives an A. Taylor tells Vives and Kara that him and Jackie were teaching assistants for Hopper and that the missing hippies disappeared when they were looking for the Fountain of Youth. On the way, Vives convinces them to go fetch her friend Furby, aka Wallace. Furby takes out GoPros for all of them to capture their adventures. When they get to the campsite, they find the van that belongs to the hippies. Then Taylor finds the pictures, and it's written to Hopper's behind them, and they put two and two together. Hopper didn't go looking for random hippies. He went looking for his missing parents. Jackie finds a rope and they decide to follow it to yet another entrance to the cave. While inside, Furby mistakes the crickets he sees as spiders and decides that he's going to stay outside the cave as backup. Jackie continues until where the rope ends and learns that the cave is much bigger and deeper than it seems. When they see the other end of the rope, they conclude that it's way too old to be Hopper's rope. Taylor gives Furby a walkie-talkie to keep in contact in case the cave's way bigger than they're anticipating. When Vives and Jackie don't answer back at Taylor and Kara, they decide to climb down the cave as well. On their way down, Kara notices the invisible boundary where the air completely changes, just like when Hopper also felt the change. We're then brought to when Hopper was entering the cave, and the further inside the cave he enters, the faster the cowboy moves until he starts moving in a normal person's pace. When he turns around, he sees something very weird at the opening. He tries walking more into the cave, then hears weird noises and a little girl screaming and runs out the cave, and it's nighttime. Hopper sees Car's dad's Jeep and mistakes it for someone who's also decided to venture into the cave. When he gets to his car, there's weeds and nature growing inside of it like it had been deserted for almost a year. He discovers that the battery has died and decides to go to the other Jeep to try and find something to jumpstart his car. But instead, when he looks inside, he also sees that there's nature and weeds inside it, along with Jackie's backpack, and immediately knows that Taylor and Jackie went after him. Hopper calls out to Boss, but there's no answer. Hopper activates a bunch of glow sticks and makes a trail so that he knows his way back. While inside, he continues and throws a glow stick that freezes mid-air. The further he walks trying to hold the glow stick, it also moves further until gravity takes over and it falls to the ground. Meanwhile, Kara scolds Vives because she's been screaming her name for 10 minutes without an answer from them. So Vives and Jackie decide to go exploring. While walking, they hear weird growling noises and a girl screaming, and they decide to get out of the cave. Jackie starts climbing the rope because she's the best climber after Taylor, and she and Furby will be able to pull Vives and Kara up. While climbing up, the rope is cut by someone and Jackie ends up falling down, with Taylor trying to break Jackie's fall, simultaneously breaking his hand as well. Taylor pulls the other rope down and it's also cut. Taylor and Kara are mad and scold Furby because his idea of a practical joke almost killed Jackie. While talking on the walkie-talkie, they hear a transmission from inside the cave and conclude that someone else has Furby's walkie-talkie, but when the other person asks for help using Taylor's name, they end up thinking that it's Professor Hopper. But the person on the other end says that his name is Furby, but his voice is much deeper and doesn't sound like Furby's at all. Vives, Taylor and Kara leave Jackie alone by the rocks because she can't walk, but Jackie's able to watch their GoPro footage on her phone, until her phone loses the signal. When they get on the other part, Kara climbs onto a rock formation in the cave and notices a rope, but she's shocked and starts getting emotional when she looks down. Kara tells Taylor to take Vives to the part of the cave where Jackie is. On their way back, they see something crawling towards them and are scared. But it turns out to just be Jackie crawling because her ankle's broken and she can't walk. They turn around back and head back to Kara, where they find her hysterically crying and angry at Taylor because she told him to take Vives to the other room. Taylor looks around the rock to see what's wrong, and he's shocked. Vives takes her GoPro to use to find out what's happening, and she finds out that it's Furby, and he's lying on the ground dead. Taylor looks at Furby's rope and it seems it's also been cut at the top. They start freaking out because there's clearly someone at the top of the cave who's cutting people's ropes to keep them from coming up again. They start watching Furby's GoPro footage, and he's read Hopper's dad's journal about the Fountain of Youth, and it turns out that the book's been passed down in Hopper's family. It talks about a pool of water with magical healing powers, and the queen of that time sent a dozen expeditions to bring back a vial of this water to her dying husband. All but one of the expeditions either died at the hands of the native people or returned empty-handed. We see that it's nighttime and Furby says that Hopper's dad's journal says that the whole reason him and his wife went into the cave was because their daughter, Hopper's sister, got sick and they wanted to cure her. It's now Tuesday in Furby's footage, which is 3 days after they got to the campsite since they got there on Saturday. Furby says that he ate all the food and water he could find, and the Jeep's dead because he listened to the radio the whole night. So now Furby's come to the conclusion that his friends have died, and he's decided to go into the cave using Hopper's rope to look for his car keys and attempt to drive off even though he has no idea how to drive. Furby makes a video diary apologizing to his mom for lying to her about where they were going because she would have alerted the police and they would have come looking for all of them if they just told the truth. He says he was just excited to finally make some friends. We see Furby going down the cave, and as he's going down he sees something that's wrong, and then suddenly the rope is cut and he falls down. As Car is about to climb up, Taylor hands her a GPS beacon that'll send out an SOS from anywhere in the world. Taylor tells Kara that he thinks the light up there is actually the sun, that it's days and nights, and that's why Furby's GoPro was several days ahead of them while for them it had only been an hour even though they all came to the campsite at the same time. Kara laughs in his face because his theory does sound dumb. Kara starts climbing up and she succeeds and eventually gets to the surface. But everything is completely gone and changed. The trees and plants all gone. Just rock formations everywhere. The air has also changed and has become more unbreathable. Kara tries turning on the GPS beacon but can't find a signal, so she walks all over the campsite looking for a signal. She walks some more and climbs up a rock formation, and we see that there's a sand or dust wind behind her coming her way. While trying to get a connection, she spots a triangle thing in the sky. She enters the cave hysterical about what she saw, but Jackie, Vives and Taylor get annoyed with her because to them she's only been gone a second. Kara throws them her playback, which clearly shows she was up there for almost 30 minutes looking for a signal. But when Taylor shows her his playback, it's literally only a second of her leaving the cave. They finally realize that time down in the cave and up on the surface doesn't correlate, and the light shining up there is actually the sun, rising and setting each time. They decide to watch Furby's playback again because they realized he fell on his side in the cave but they found him on his back. They find out that the fall didn't kill Furby, and he was actually the one on the other end talking and asking Taylor for help. They then see the natives of the cave are the ones who smashed his walkie-talkie and also killed Furby. They pick up some rocks to use as protection. On Kara's way back up the surface, Vives looks through Furby's footage and realizes that the sun's path keeps changing. And it's not just the sun but is the seasons. It's the sun shifting on the horizon, meaning that it isn't one revolution but hundreds, which explains why all the nature was gone on the surface and it was just rock formations all over. This also explains why the ropes kept being cut, because they weren't. It was just friction over a long period of time. As they're talking about this, a magic metal stairway falls into the cave and Kara starts climbing up it, until she sees a giant person wearing a suit coming down. Then she starts going down. A caveman comes and starts fighting with the suit man, but he uses a gadget to place him forcibly on the floor. They start running away from him and get into another room and find a woman who's just recently passed away, and it's Hopper's mom. And they also see Hopper's dad lying on the floor. At the same time, they see some cavemen attacking the cowboy, and Taylor tries buying the girls some time while they try to hide from the cavemen. Taylor grabs a rock and at first is successful at using it as a weapon against the cavemen, but they overpower him and end his life. The girls are able to hide from the cavemen. Then Kara goes to check up on Taylor, but she finds him dead and bleeding. At the same time, the suit man comes and gets a vial of the pool water, and before he leaves, he grabs Taylor and takes him to the pool. Kara fights him because it seems as though he's trying to drown Taylor even more. Cavemen come back again to attack them. Then Taylor suddenly wakes up from the dead. Suit man is able to defeat one of the cavemen, but the other one takes off his mask. Then Kara gives him the other neck lock thing and he's able to lock the other caveman on the ground. He hits a button and a gas is released from the neck holders and it puts the caveman to sleep. Taylor removes his band-aid and feels his hand is all healed. The suit man hits a button that scans their faces and shows them the news story when their disappearance had been broadcasted, and even Vives and Kara's dad asking for any information about his daughter's location. It then shows Trump, Obama and Stephen Hawking talking about creating life on Mars as life on Earth is no longer possible. They also talk about the Ark, a ship that's 15 miles long and 2 miles across that can house 250,000 passengers, and once it's in orbit, will be able to reach planet Mars in a matter of hours. Kara tries asking the suit man which year he's from, but he doesn't speak the language they do. Taylor then spots Hopper's backpack and remembers exactly why they entered the cave in the first place, and he decides he won't leave without finding Hopper. He takes the cowboy's gun to protect himself. Taylor finds Hopper injured lying on the floor, and he also learns that the cave is one big system of time, and every part of the cave is a different time speed than the last. We learn that Hopper's sister is stuck in a slower time speed and she's caught in the middle of a huge war. Taylor hands the cowboy's gun to Hopper because as much as he'd like to go into the pool of youth, he's too injured. So Taylor tells him he'll bring the water to him. Back in the other room, the kids put Furby in the pool while Jackie's ankle has completely healed. They hear Hopper shooting, and they start running to the cave's entrance and release the portable ladder while noticing that the sun's no longer spinning. They start quickly climbing up the ladder, while the cavemen are right behind them. When Kara reaches the top of the ladder, She notices that it's actually water at the opening and she gets immediately pulled up by what seems to be alien hands when she puts her hand inside the water. She gets pulled into the water but reaches out her hand. And luckily Taylor is able to pull her from getting sucked completely into the pool. Until a caveman presses a button on the ladder, it retracts completely and Kara is pulled up into the pool while her friends start falling. The aliens put a mask on Kara's face, meaning that they're trying to help her breathe. A few moments later, we see 3 wires coming out of the pool and they each go and tie themselves around Jackie, Taylor and Vives, which helps them from falling down. Kara comes out of the water in full gear, all dressed up, and she tells them that she's going to pull each one of them at a time. She also tells them that once they're on the other side, they're going to have all the time in the world to save Furby and Hopper. More of the wires come out of the pool into the cave. Furby wakes up in a pool along with Hopper, and they see that they're outside of planet Earth, meaning they're on the traveling ship that's headed to Mars. Vives, Taylor, Kara and Jackie all come into the room and see Furby and Hopper. Jackie tells Furby that they're going to Mars, and it may not be like home, but on the brighter side they're all together. Hopper sees that his parents and his sister are also on the ship with him, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is Time Trap. Thanks for watching. This is one of my favorite time travel movies and I recommend you go and watch it for yourselves. And if anyone knows a movie director, please ask them to make a sequel to this movie. I really need to know how Furby reacts to the news that he's been alive more than 1,000 years, how he reacts to finding out his mom is gone, and how their new lives will unfold on Mars, if they'll ever come back to Earth again. Will the aliens on the ship ever turn on the humans? Will they leave the cave alone knowing the power it holds? Will every person on the ship use the water daily to stay young forever and never die? How will they communicate with the aliens and new species of humans who speak a completely different language to them, etc.?